The Supreme Court is heading into its final week of decisions. The term will end this week. All eyes on three important decisions, although there may be a fourth, actually, still to come. We'll hear now from Greg Stohr. He is Bloomberg Supreme Court reporter live from outside the court. So, Greg, thanks for being here. So I thought I was going to leave with the census, but has the Chevron doctrine up?
Not the Chevron doctrine. It's sort of the little brother of the Chevron doctrine. It's called the Our doctrine. What it is a doctrine that says judges will defer to regulatory agencies when they're interpreting their own regulations. And businesses want that decision overturned. They say what happens now is that agencies are too unpredictable. When, say, you shift an administration, an agency may change its interpretation of its own regulation. They would rather have judges make the decision about what those regulations mean. They say that would provide more consistency. We're probably going to see a conservative-liberal split, with the conservatives siding with the businesses on this one.
So that is of particular interest to businesses that are regulated. Of broader interest, not just to businesses but to the whole country, is the census decision. Tell us about that, because there's some indication from the argument we think we may know where it's going.
The indication from the argument was that it was going to be another conservative-liberal split, where the conservatives were going to let the Trump administration add a question about citizenship to the census. Now, opponents say that would produce an undercount. It would mean that in particularly heavily Hispanic areas, that people would not respond to the census. They say they have evidence that the real aim behind the administration's effort is to boost Republicans and white voters. The Supreme Court, however, seemed like at arguments, and of course things change from arguments, but it seemed like the conservatives were willing to defer to the Trump administration and let them add that question.
Yeah, which could mean a lot of money to states like New York, for example, if they have an undercount with respect to Hispanics. We also have the gerrymandering, so-called gerrymandering case up. And as I understand it, the court is saying we don't want to get involved in redrawing districts. At the same time, this case asks, can it ever be so extreme you'd get involved?
Yeah, and so it's important to note we're talking about partisan gerrymandering here. Racial gerrymandering is something the court has been involved with for years, for decades. But the court has never struck down a voting map or even a single district as being so partisan that it violates the Constitution. And opponents say, now we've got the cases where the court should do that. There are actually two cases. Probably the bigger of the two is one out of North Carolina, where Republicans explicitly designed the congressional map so that there would be 10 safe Republican seats there. There's also a case out of Maryland where it was the Democrats who were doing the gerrymandering. The problem, though, for opponents is that you potentially have 5 votes who are going to say not only that we're not going to strike down these maps, but that courts can never strike down maps. This is not something courts should be involved in. We're going to let politicians consider politics when they draw district lines.